I traded my 2018 Honda Goldwing Tour for a brand new 2024 Honda Goldwing. Was that a good decision? Hey everybody, welcome back to Cruiseman's Garage, and today I'm going to give you my review of the 2024 Honda Goldwing Tour DCT. Today's video is sponsored by wingstuff.com, and I'll talk a little more about them later on in this video. Now, I did a review of the 2023 Honda Goldwing a little over a year ago, and nothing has really changed between the 2022 to the 2024 model. Actually, nothing's changed since the 2021 model, so some of that information is still relevant, so I may borrow some scenes from that video in this video. So who is this video really aimed at? Well, anybody that owns a 2018 to 2020 Honda Goldwing, and maybe you're wondering, is it worth it to move up to the 2021 or even a 2024 Honda Goldwing? I think you're going to find this video pretty valuable. Also, anybody with a pre-2018 Goldwing and you're thinking about moving up to the new generation Honda Goldwing, I think you're going to find this video quite helpful. And then anybody in general that is considering a new touring motorcycle and you're looking at a Honda Goldwing and you're thinking about that might be the bike for you. The 6th generation Goldwing Tour has a wheelbase of 66.9 inches, weighs in at 845 pounds, and has a seat height of 29.3 inches. The Tour model is equipped with integrated saddlebags and a trunk, while the non-Tour model or bagger version of the Goldwing has all of the same specs except for it only weighs 804 pounds fully fueled. For 2024, both the bagger model and the Tour model are available in both DCT and manual transmissions. The 6-speed manual Tour sells for $28,700. The DCT Tour model is an extra $1,000, $29,700. The DCT airbag model is $33,000. As for the bagger model, the 6-speed manual sells for $24,700. The DCT model for $25,700. But it only comes available in one color, and that is the matte armored green metallic. Now, on the Tour model, you have two options for colors. Pearl white, which also has some black and red accents, that's the bike I have, or metallic gray and black. Now, the airbag model is only available in pearl white. Now, later, I'm going to share a little secret with you on how you can save some money if you're interested in buying a brand new Goldwing, so make sure you stay tuned for that. The Honda Goldwing engine is an 1833cc or 1.8 liter liquid-cooled, fuel-injected, horizontally opposed 6-cylinder with a single overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder, and a 73 millimeter bore and stroke, and 10.5 to 1 compression. The engine produces 97.9 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 108.4 pound-feet of torque at 1,250 RPM. Best of all, it runs on 87 octane fuel. Now, there are two transmission options for the 2024 Honda Goldwing: a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission with walking mode forward and reverse, or a 6-speed manual transmission with reverse. Power delivery to the rear wheel is via a shaft drive. The Goldwing offers the rider a choice of 4 different ride modes, and these ride modes control things like power delivery, torque control, engine braking, and the shift points if you have a DCT transmission. Econ mode offers reduced power delivery and lower RPM shift points to increase fuel efficiency. Rain mode also reduces power delivery and lowers shift points and increases the torque control to minimize the chance of wheel spin during acceleration on wet pavement. Tour mode is the default mode. Whenever you turn the Goldwing on, it will automatically select Tour mode. This mode is designed for everyday riding situations, and it kind of combines the best of power delivery, torque control, and shifting in most situations. Sport mode delivers maximum power delivery, minimal torque control, and on DCT models, higher RPM in every gear for shifts. DCT models shift automatically. However, there is a manual option, and this allows you to upshift or downshift using the paddle shifters on the left-hand control unit. Even in manual mode, when you decelerate, the computer will not allow the engine to die from low RPMs, and it will downshift for you. Okay, so let's put it into sport mode. And let's do it. Wow, I forgot how fast sport mode really is. I have not used sport mode in a long time, and now I know why. I swear, I think the front wheels were going to come off the ground the first time I got on it. Let's try this one more time. Wow, that'll get your attention. Listen, anybody that doesn't think this Goldwing can keep up, this is a fast touring bike. You put this thing in sport mode on that DCT transmission, and it is definitely got what it takes. Time for the braking test. There's nobody behind me. Very, very good brakes. Very controlled, but not a problem. That braking was accomplished by two 320mm or 12.6-inch rotors up front, each one fitted with a 3-piston caliper. The front wheel is 18-inch cast aluminum wrapped in a 130/70 Bridgestone Excedra or Dunlop Elite 4 tire. At the back end, you'll find a single 316mm or 12.4-inch rotor with a single 3-pot caliper. The rear wheel is a 16-inch cast aluminum wrapped in a fat 200/55 Bridgestone or Dunlop tire. The Honda Goldwing utilizes a linked braking system, and that means that whether you pull on the front brake lever or the rear brake pedal, you're getting a little bit of braking all the way around the bike. So press on the rear brake pedal, you're still getting some stopping power on the front end. And since 2018, anti-lock brakes are standard on all Honda Goldwing models. With a seat height of 29.3 inches, the rider definitely sits on the Goldwing, not in the bike like on some V-twin touring bikes. The seat is covered in a suede-like vinyl that has an elegant look with contrasting trim and even a Goldwing logo stamped into the passenger backrest. The seat, unfortunately, looks better than it feels. And some owners have actually gone to the aftermarket to find a more comfortable solution. Also, the suede-like material is really susceptible to scuffs from your boot or shoes when you get on and off the bike. The seat and grips are heated, and each can be adjusted to any of 5 heat levels using switches on the console, and the chosen levels show up on the dash. At 6'2" with a 33-inch inseam, I find the seating position to be pretty comfortable. Taller riders, however, may need to get some highway pegs so they can stretch their legs out a little bit. Shorter riders may find themselves getting handlebar risers to bring those handlebars back a little bit closer to them. The electric windscreen offers about 5 inches of adjustment using a switch on the left-hand control. And even at the highest position, I can still see over the windscreen. And it does a decent job of keeping the wind off my chest and face without that annoying helmet buffeting. The sportier, narrow profile of the Goldwing fairing provides very little wind protection for the rider's legs, which is why Honda offers optional wind deflectors. Honda also offers some smaller adjustable wind deflectors that can be mounted under the rear view mirrors to provide wind protection for the rider's hands. Now, in hot weather, these can be turned inward to direct more air to the rider's chest. There's a small pop-up air vent just behind the windshield, but honestly, I can't tell that it really makes that much difference. The rear view mirrors are large and mounted to the front fairing. They offer an excellent vibration-free view of whatever's going on behind you as you ride. All of the hand controls are within easy reach, even for someone with smaller hands like myself. The switches have a very high quality feel, and unlike some other tour models that I've reviewed, the controls and the switches are backlit, so it's a joy to ride this motorcycle after dark. Now, one button that could be improved is the horn button. It's rather small. It can be hard to find without actually looking at it. When it comes to pillion comfort, I can only take the word of my significant other, Ricky, who has ridden behind me on multiple Goldwings and Harleys over the years. If she's uncomfortable, she's going to let me know in a hurry. After 7 days of riding more than 2,000 miles, she never once complained about comfort on the 2018. I should point out, however, she's only 5'6" and weighs 110 pounds. Honda did a good job on the lighting package for the 6th generation Goldwings. The 2 large LED headlights look like they were borrowed from the Acura parts bin, but they are stylish and they do throw a nice amount of light down the road. 2021 and later models get Honda's fog lights as standard equipment, which add even more light, as well as increase the rider's visibility to oncoming traffic. At the rear end of the bike, the saddlebags have LED tail, brake, and turn signal lights, and while they're plenty bright, they're positioned much lower on the motorcycle than the previous generation Goldwings. An integrated tail, brake, running light in the trunk lid would be a nice thing for Honda to add in the future. For additional safety and peace of mind, I've added the Pathfinder LED trunk spoiler that has turn signals, brake light, and running light. I also added the front cowl lights from Pathfinder LED because they provide additional light. You can't be too thin, too rich, or have too many lights on your motorcycle, and that's why I've added these aftermarket accessories. And while we're talking about aftermarket accessories, let's talk a second about wingstuff.com. Wingstuff.com is the world's leading resource for aftermarket parts and accessories. Whether it's lighting and electronics, riding gear and apparel, helmets, tires, tools, OEM parts. They also have over 29,000 product reviews of Goldwing products. Now, they've been around since 1999, so 25 years they've been providing the best prices and the best services. So anytime you need anything for your Honda Goldwing, make sure you visit wingstuff.com. And thank you, Wingstuff, for sponsoring this video. The The 2024 Honda Goldwing infotainment system has remained unchanged since 2018. The dash includes analog speedometer and tachometer. There are LCD displays on each side of the dash that display additional information along with some indicator lights. In between the speedometer and tach is a beautiful 7-inch TFT color screen that's used to display navigation maps from the built-in satellite navigation system, audio entertainment information, and Apple CarPlay or Android Auto screens. And there's also a menu system to allow the rider to make adjustments to suspension, connect Bluetooth headsets, and a lot more stuff. The rider navigates the menus using a jog dial on the console mounted between the rider and the dash screen. When the motorcycle is in motion, the rider can use a 4-way key switch on the left side hand control unit. 2 small digital LED screens show the fuel level, tire pressure information, fuel range, odometer, trip meter, ride mode, and some other pertinent information. When it comes to audio entertainment, the rider can choose from AM, FM, Sirius XM, which does require a subscription, MP3 music files from an attached thumb drive or phone, Apple CarPlay music, or Android Auto. AM and FM reception are pretty bad on the Honda Goldwing. There are some pretty strong radio stations here in where I live in the Dallas area, and even the strongest stations still have a lot of static. It's rather weak. I'm not sure if it's because of where the antenna is mounted on the Honda Goldwing. It's in the upper part of the right saddlebag, and maybe that's the reason, but Honda needs to do a better job on AM FM reception. Now, XM radio reception seems to be pretty good. The stereo system can be played through 4 speakers. 2 of these are located in the fairing and 2 behind the rider in the trunk. You can also listen to audio through a connected Bluetooth headset, which is what I do. In fact, I rarely, if ever, use the speakers. In 2021, the Goldwing got upgraded 55-watt rated speakers. The onboard infotainment system is starting to show its age. Now, it was revolutionary when it was introduced in 2018, but technology moves pretty rapidly, and I would say that BMW, Indian, and Harley all have much more sophisticated infotainment systems than the Honda Goldwing. It does need an update. The navigation system would be better suited for use in a car. Planning multi-day rides with multiple waypoints can be a real struggle, especially if you want to stay off the beaten path and you want to take back roads or smaller highways. And a system that was voice command driven would be a real bonus and something that nobody in the industry has right now. I'm afraid Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze is a better solution if you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Connecting Bluetooth headsets can still be a struggle. I often have to reboot my Bluetooth headset at least once, maybe twice, to get it to connect to the Honda Goldwing. Now, I think this is because Honda may be using such an old version of Bluetooth, and I guess it can't be updated through a firmware update because it hasn't been updated since I've had the 2018 Goldwing. The color TFT screen is really nice, but it's underutilized. It should be customizable, where you could add things like a compass or a voltmeter, a digital speedometer, and maybe colors that change depending on what ride mode you're in. All 2024 Honda Goldwings have anti-lock brakes front and rear, but these do not have any lean control. There are better systems available out there. The Honda selectable torque control should not be confused with traction control. It's not the same thing. If the computer detects wheel spin at the rear wheel under acceleration only, it will limit some power to the rear wheel. But it doesn't do anything during deceleration. So if your wheel wants to lock up during, say, engine braking, HSTC doesn't do anything for that. There should be a more sophisticated traction control system on Honda's flagship touring bike. Tour models come with electronic suspension preload, which can be set through the menu system to any of 4 different settings. Cruise control switches are on the right-hand control unit. The cruise control works very well, but many riders are surprised to learn that Honda does not have adaptive cruise control on the Honda Goldwing. DCT models also come with a parking brake because when you turn the bike off, it basically goes into neutral. However, the parking brake itself could use a redesign. It wears out pretty easily. It's very easy to ride off and forget to release the parking brake. It does not automatically disengage when you put the bike into gear. All Honda Goldwings use a smart key for keyless ignition. The system will detect when the rider is 8 to 10 feet away, and it will engage the ignition system so that you can turn on the motorcycle and start the bike. It also will unlock the trunk and the saddlebags automatically. Now, the same is true when you walk away from the motorcycle. Once you get outside of a certain range, the trunk and the saddlebags automatically lock and the ignition system is disabled. And Honda Goldwings in Canada have this start-stop feature. It can be disabled through the menu system, but hopefully that doesn't come to the USA. Hill Start Assist is standard equipment on all Honda Goldwings, and it works very well. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and getting any value from it, I'd appreciate if you do me a favor and click that little subscribe button down below. And don't forget the notification bell so that YouTube will let you know when we come out with new videos like this one. The trunk, saddlebags, and side pocket automatically lock when the smart key is out of range. And if the smart key fails, there is a manual way to get all of the saddlebag lids and the side pocket door open. The Goldwing Tour models come with integrated saddlebags and a trunk or a top box. And in 2021, the Goldwing Tour's trunk was enlarged to 61 liters, which is plenty large enough to hold 2 large modular helmets. This new larger trunk puts the 2022-2023 Goldwing on par with other touring motorcycles in the storage category. Now, the saddlebags, on the other hand, are still pretty small compared to other touring bikes. And the side opening lids can have your stuff falling out of the left saddlebag every time you open that one. There is a dash indicator if a saddlebag or trunk lid is left open. The trunk and saddlebags are not lined with any soft material. It's just hard, slick plastic. Now, Honda offers carpeting as an accessory, but shouldn't this be included on a $30,000 motorcycle? As for cubby storage, the non-airbag models come with a center pocket that can hold a fair amount of smaller items. Now, this is where Honda intends for you to store your smartphone and connect to the USB port for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, or just to keep your phone charged. Honda's solution to keep your phone from overheating in this non-ventilated cubby was to include a cheap piece of foam rubber to hold your phone. And don't forget, when you stop for gas, to remove that $1,000 smartphone because the center pocket is not lockable. There is a side pocket that's oddly shaped, but it is lockable. It's big enough to hold maybe a pocket knife or a small flashlight or a Leatherman tool. The dual wishbone front suspension is a real marvel of motorcycle engineering, and the system functions very well under most conditions.
So honestly, the engine and the transmission are what really set this motorcycle apart from the competition. As far as the ride and the handling, around town, I would say it's comparable. I'd say it's somewhere in between, actually. It's somewhere in between the Indian Pursuit and the BMW K1600 GTL. It's not as harsh or as sporty as the BMW, but it's not as plush and compliant on surface streets as the Indian Pursuit.
The double wishbone front suspension is revolutionary, and it delivers a smooth and predictable ride. The handling is much better than you would expect from an 845-pound motorcycle. Twisty roads are no challenge for this motorcycle. The electronic preload leaves a little bit to be desired, and the front shock can bottom out on hard impact with road imperfections. Honda claims to have made some improvements to the front suspension in 2021, but honestly, I can't tell any difference in the ride or handling from my 2018. However, on long stretches of highway, the ride is compliant, smooth, and rock solid. On surface streets, which can be less forgiving, the ride can become a little more harsh. I would define the ride as sporty, not plush. As for vibration, there is none coming through the rider or passenger foot pegs, and an almost undetectable amount coming into those hand grips. The engine and drivetrain are just super smooth, and the bike handles very well in the wind. These bikes routinely average better than 40 miles per gallon. So the overall range is typically north of 220 miles before the engine requires more feeding. I am very picky when it comes to paint quality, fit, and finish. And I will have to say this 2024 Honda Goldwing that I have in pearl white, which has the gloss black and the red accents, is the best paint quality I've seen on a 6th generation Goldwing. I had some issues with the paint quality on my 2018 Goldwing when I picked it up. I had to do some paint correction to get it to look right. And on the 2022 Goldwing that I reviewed a couple of years ago, I found some real issues with some dull spots where it didn't look like they even put on any clear coat. Those problems do not exist on this 2024 Goldwing. And all of the body panels line up nicely. Everything seems to fit very nice and tight. Looks great. I would say the fit and finish is definitely better on this 2024 than it was on my 2018. There is one issue with the 2024 Goldwing, and it was an issue with the 2018 Goldwing, and I've heard this problem exists on every year model, and that is on the inside of the clear dash lens, there is like a haze or a fog, and the only way to get rid of it is to remove the dash lens and clean it, and it's quite a process to do this. Now, I do cover that in my maintenance video series, but it's still a fair amount of work. And I know some owners have even had their dash lens replaced under warranty because of this. I find it hard to believe that Honda has not addressed this. One of the biggest advantages to a Honda Goldwing is it has a lower cost of ownership to other motorcycles, especially in this class. Now, those big BMW touring bikes are super fast, they're very powerful, they're beautiful bikes, but just wait until you take it to a BMW to get repair or maintenance. Get ready to spend some money. While the Goldwing is a big and sophisticated motorcycle, most maintenance tasks can be performed by the average owner. That gives me the opportunity to tell you about my maintenance video series. I have a series of 80 plus videos that walk you through step by step all of the things you need to know to properly maintain your Honda Goldwing. And these videos are used by thousands of Goldwing owners in over 35 different countries. The cost of the videos is less than $300. You'll save thousands of dollars over the life of your motorcycle. But even if you choose to have a dealer perform the service for you, service on a Honda Goldwing is much less than most other large touring bikes. And since the Honda Goldwing engine will run fine on 87 octane, every time you fill up at a gas pump, you're saving money. And because of Honda's reputation for reliability and durability, your Honda Goldwing is going to have a much higher resale value than the average touring motorcycle. So lower cost of maintenance, a higher resale value, and lower fuel costs means the Honda Goldwing is a pretty good financial investment. And I told you earlier I'm going to give you a tip on how to save money if you're in the market to buy a new Goldwing. Well, here's my suggestion. Make sure you look for a Honda Powerhouse dealer. Now, Powerhouse dealers are a little different than your typical Honda dealer. They only sell Honda products. And Powerhouse dealers are given special treatment by Honda. They get the first choice for new models when they're released, and inventory levels are generally better than your typical non-powerhouse Honda dealer. Now, I got my 2024 Honda Goldwing from Southern Honda Powersports in East Ridge, Tennessee. And I actually drove from Texas. I rode my 2018 out there to trade it in on this 2024 model. And Southern Honda Powersports is probably the largest Honda Goldwing dealer in the country, maybe even the world. They sell tons of Honda Goldwings. People go in from all over the country to buy motorcycles from Southern Honda Powersports. You can fly there, spend a day or two riding around the beautiful Tennessee, North Carolina area, and then ride your bike home. It is, after all, a touring bike. So now it's time for me to conclude this and give you my ratings in a bunch of different areas from 1 to 5. And now 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. As far as styling, I give the 2024 Honda Goldwing a 4.5 out of 5. I still think this 6th generation Goldwing is a beautiful motorcycle, very well designed, great styling, very sporty looking. And with this pearl white paint, I am still getting kind of used to the blacked out engine and the blacked out mufflers, but it's growing on me and I really like it. I also like the two-tone gray and black that they have this year. As far as performance, I'm going to give it a 4.3 out of 5, and only because there are more powerful motorcycles in this class. But still, this flat 6 engine, I think, gives you the best combination of performance, smoothness, reliability, and fuel economy. It really gives you a well-rounded combination of everything. But just for pure performance, I'll give it a 4.3 out of 5. Now, when it comes to comfort, I'm going to only give it 4 out of 5. I think Honda can do a better job on that seat. A lot of riders are going to find that seat a little too firm, not too comfortable, and a lot of people have gone to the aftermarket for a solution. And I also think the windshield, the OEM stock windshield, could be just slightly wider, give a little bit more wind protection. Now, when it comes to handling, I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5. This motorcycle handles amazingly for an 845-pound bike. That double wishbone suspension system up front is just a miracle of engineering. It gives a very plush, smooth ride, but some excellent handling characteristics, and it makes this bike the perfect platform for a trike conversion, should you ever want to turn it into a trike or purchase a trike. Now, when it comes to technology, I can only give the Goldwing a 3 out of 5. This was cutting-edge technology back in 2018 when this bike was introduced. But some of the other touring bikes on the market now, like BMW, Harley, Indian, I think their infotainment systems have actually exceeded that of what the Goldwing offers. That 7-inch TFT screen is beautiful and way underutilized. It should be customizable. You should be able to add a compass to it, or even the speed limit would be nice to have there, as well as a better navigation system. Come on. This system was really designed more for a car than it was a motorcycle. And by now, to me, the Honda Goldwing, to be cutting edge and leading edge, should have voice commands driving the whole system. Now, I mentioned that this motorcycle is very user maintainable, but it still does require some guidance, such as my videos. So I'm only going to give the Goldwing a 2.5 out of 5 for maintainability. As far as value, I'm going to say 4.5 out of 5. I don't know of any other motorcycle that gives you this much for the price. The Goldwing only went up $100 in 2024 over 2023, and you can still buy a DCT Tour model for under $30,000. That's an incredible value compared to other motorcycles in this class. So now for my overall rating, which is how much I personally like a motorcycle, I'm giving the 2024 Honda Goldwing Tour DCT 4.7 out of 5. That's why I chose to trade my 2018 in on a 2024. Was it a good decision? Absolutely. I love this motorcycle. I obviously am a bit biased. I'm a big Goldwing fan anyway, but this is the perfect bike for me. It may not be the perfect bike for you, but I highly recommend that you go to your Honda dealer and test drive this DCT Goldwing. Now, if you take all of my ratings and you add them up and you divide them, you're not going to come up with 4.7. That's because the Honda Goldwing is really more than the sum of its parts, and it deserves that 4.7 out of 5. So that's my review of the 2024 Honda Goldwing Tour DCT. Now, if you have any comments or any questions on this video, please put them in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, make sure you give it a thumbs up because that really does help my YouTube channel. Again, I want to thank Wingstuff for sponsoring this video and making it possible. And I'll leave you with my message that I always leave you with, and that is ride often, but ride safe.